What if the most beautiful woman of Hollywood's golden age, a figure whose name was synonymous with glamour, was also the tragically overlooked inventor of the technology that powers our modern world? This is the story of Hedy Lamarr. Even today, decades after her final film, her face is an icon of cinematic history, the star of epics like Samson and Delilah. She was dubbed the most beautiful woman in the world, an image that adorned movie screens and magazines, captivating millions who saw her as the ultimate object of beauty and desire. But this same dazzling star, a woman defined entirely by her looks, was also a brilliant self-taught inventor. In her spare time, she filled notebooks with revolutionary ideas, from improved stoplights to dissolvable soda tablets. Most importantly, during the darkest days of World War II, she co-invented a secret communication system to guide Allied torpedoes. It was a technology so advanced it would one day become the backbone of Wi-Fi, GPS, and Bluetooth. Armed with a patent and a desire to defeat the Nazis, she presented her breakthrough to the US Navy. The setting was clinical, the stakes were global. The Navy considered her revolutionary idea, an idea born of intellectual fire, and gave her their answer. They told her she could better serve the war effort not by inventing weapons, but by using her famous face to sell war bonds and offer kisses to soldiers. How could the genius who laid the groundwork for our wireless age be so utterly dismissed? How could the woman celebrated for her beauty be so tragically ignored for her brains? This is the deep, uncomfortable, and utterly fascinating paradox of Hedy Lamarr.
The formation of the inventor.
To understand this paradox, we can't begin with the celebrated actress on a Hollywood soundstage. We have to start with the girl. Hedy Lamarr, born Hedwig Kiesler in Vienna, Austria, wasn't raised in a world of scripts and spotlights. She was forged in a crisis of intellect and oppression. Born in 1914, her inventive mind was nurtured by her father, who would explain the inner workings of machines to her on their walks. At just 5 years old, she famously took apart a music box and reassembled it, just to understand how it worked. But her world changed dramatically when at 18, she married Friedrich Mandl, a wealthy and controlling Austrian arms dealer. Her life became a gilded cage, where her career was forbidden and she was treated like a possession. The place was their castle home, Schloss Schwarzenau. The time was the 1930s. Mandl entertained fascist leaders and Nazi officials, and Hedy was forced to sit through countless dinner parties where the topic was weapons technology. For a young woman of Jewish heritage, listening to men allied with Hitler discuss the mechanics of war was a terrifying education. On one side was a life of stifling oppression under a man doing business with a genocidal regime. On the other was a desperate desire for freedom, a freedom to think, to act, and to fight the very evil she was forced to entertain. She explained it herself in her memoir, describing the feeling of being an object. I was like a doll. I was like a thing. Some object of art which had to be guarded and imprisoned, having no mind, no life of its own. Disguised as her maid, Lamarr finally escaped Mandl and fled to London, where she met MGM studio head Louis B. Mayer. She had witnessed the face of fascism up close, and for the rest of her life, the fight against it would be her guiding star, her moral true north. For the young Hedy, inventing wasn't just a hobby. It was the only weapon she felt she had against what felt like absolute, existential evil. It was an anchor in a storm-tossed life, a promise of purpose in a world of chaos. That intellectual bond, forged in the fires of pre-war Europe, would shape everything that followed. It was a bond of brilliance that would never truly be recognized.
The actress at work. The genius emerges.
While Lamarr the actress was becoming a global superstar, Lamarr the inventor began the work that would one day redefine the modern world. And here's the most fascinating part of the paradox. Her public persona wasn't just a day job held in private. It was the very thing that blinded the world to her genius. Her colossal reputation rests on a string of hit films throughout the 1940s, including Algiers, Boomtown, and Samson and Delilah. She was marketed by the studio as the pinnacle of beauty, an exotic and glamorous screen siren. Her image was her currency. Before Lamarr, the idea of a movie star as a serious inventor was unthinkable. Lamarr, applying her sharp intellect, flipped the entire script. Driven by a desire to aid the Allied war effort, she argued that to truly defeat the Nazis, you had to outsmart them technologically. She pioneered what we now call frequency-hopping spread spectrum, a revolutionary idea to stop enemy forces from jamming the radio signals of Allied torpedoes. She worked with empathy for the sailors whose lives were lost to German U-boats. She saw them not as distant casualties, but as a problem her mind could help solve. With her colleague, composer George Antheil, she developed a system using a mechanism similar to a player piano roll to rapidly switch between 88 radio frequencies, making the guidance signal impossible to track or jam. This approach was nothing short of electrifying. It allowed her to synthesize concepts from music, mechanics, and munitions into a single, compelling, and coherent invention. She could explain why things happened, connecting the failure of torpedoes not just to enemy action, but to a technological vulnerability that could be fixed. Her patent, filed under her married name Hedy Lamarr, was sharp and, crucially, decades ahead of its time. She became the secret synthesizer, the woman who devised a key to the wireless world. Her beauty gave her access and fame. And, as we will see, it was also her fatal flaw.
Deepening paradox.
The world, however, stubbornly refused to see past the face that Hedy Lamarr's fame had created. And as the actress's star rose to international acclaim, the inventor's brilliance was dismissed again and again. The first major public crack in the facade appeared in 1942. Lamarr and Antheil took their patented secret communication system to the U.S. Navy. For thousands of Americans, contributing to the war effort was a patriotic duty. Lamarr went a step further, offering a piece of her own mind. The Navy, however, was baffled that such a thing could come from a movie star. They rejected the technology, with some officials allegedly quipping that you couldn't fit a player piano inside a torpedo. Instead of implementing her invention, they told Lamarr she could be more useful to the war effort by using her celebrity status to sell war bonds. Horrified that a country she wanted to help was openly valuing her looks over her intellect, she did what was asked. So how did a mind so brilliant and analytical square this circle? In her life, you find a pattern of compliance, masking deep frustration. She would condemn the enemy, but was forced to use her beauty, not her brain, as her weapon. On one war bond tour, she raised $7 million, partly by offering kisses to donors. In her grand narrative, the fight against fascism was the hinge of 20th century history, a foundational moment that demanded any and all contributions. The United States, for all its frustrating short-sightedness, was the primary force that could defeat Hitler. That core belief, that singular goal, allowed her to swallow the insult and do what so many others could not. This brings us back to that chilling 1942 rejection. The Navy pressed her on her value, asking the ultimate question about her contribution, and their answer, that her face was more valuable than her idea, was the ultimate and most naked expression of her paradox. She was not a vain woman who reveled in attention. She readily acknowledged the war needed to be won. She was instead a woman so utterly committed to a patriotic hope that she was willing to accept an unthinkable professional humiliation. In her mind, the potential prize, a world finally free of the fascism she had witnessed firsthand, was so immense, so historically significant that any role, no matter how degrading, could at least be performed. The dream of helping her adopted country had to be preserved, even when the reality of their response was a nightmare.
Paradox and legacy.
So, what are we to make of Hedy Lamarr? Was she a brilliant inventor, despite her beauty, or in some strange, uncomfortable way, because of it? The difficult answer seems to be both. Her first marriage gave her the terrifying ringside education in munitions she needed to understand the problem. Her beauty gave her the freedom to escape Austria and the access to powerful people like Howard Hughes, who encouraged her inventive spirit. It allowed her to see the grand, hidden machinery of technology where other actors only saw a script. But that same beauty became a blinder for everyone else. Many critics argue that her career as an actress is what prevented her from being taken seriously. Her analysis of military technology was her strongest work, but marred by the profound reluctance of others to fully confront the genius of the woman to whom that mind belonged. She could file a patent for a world-changing invention, but the Navy could see it only with a chilling detachment, dismissing its creator with a phrase that, for many, revealed a disturbing psychological distance from the immense intellectual contribution she offered. Her lifelong image made her a compromised narrator of the very technology she had created. Her life teaches us a profound and unsettling lesson about the nature of perception itself. Lamarr's story is a stark reminder that beauty can be a powerful tool for navigating the world, but it can also become a cage for the mind. Not her mind, but the minds of those who gazed upon her. It shows how a noble commitment forged in the necessary fight against fascism could, over decades, curdle into a legacy of unrecognized genius. As she herself once said, "The brains of people are more interesting than the looks." Her life, therefore, poses a question that we still grapple with today. What is the ultimate responsibility of society? Is it to accept people as the image they project, or is it to courageously look for the brilliance that may lie beneath an unexpected surface? The world chose to see Hedy Lamarr as an image, and it gave her a singular, powerful fame. But it left her tragically, devastatingly wrong about her own future.
Final call.
In the end, we are left with the paradox, unresolved. The woman who invented our world was herself a captive of her image, forever tied to that pivotal moment in the 1940s when a world at war seemed to value her face over her mind. Her films remain icons of a bygone era. Her mind was, without question, brilliant, but her story is a cautionary tale. A powerful warning that even the most perceptive society can have a blind spot shaped exactly like beauty. What do you think? Can you separate the actress's fame from the inventor's genius? Should we even try? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy deep dives into the complex and controversial figures who shaped our world, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more. Thanks for watching.
If you want to know what really happened to Bruce Lee, watch the video.